Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hajicek. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. Tonight we got a great show on tap. We're taking a deep dive into the Mandela effect. And that has been a subject that has really intrigued me for years. I know it's been intriguing Doug too. Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson will be joining us bottom of the hour, and she is the author of several books, including books about the Mandela effect. And we're going to be discussing reality shifts, the Mandela effect, the things that you thought you knew that were reality just may not be. So hang out with us. That's coming up the bottom of the hour. So, Doug, how are you?
Good.
Good? How's your week thus far?
It's been just weird.
What do you mean weird?
Just weird.
Just like
just
no
weird.
No oddness, or has it all been odd? Well, no, wait. We're talking about to you, so I mean,
Yeah.
Odd is your default
For
setting.
me, an odd week would be one that nothing odd happens.
So it's been completely and perfectly a mundane week for you.
Yes. Yep. Totally mundane.
Oh.
But I've been enjoying the weather.
Yeah.
It's been nice.
Well, spring has finally hit the frozen tundra.
Finally.
So, that's been nice. That's been real nice. I've been working like a dog. You've been probably living in the lap of luxury.
I've been working, plenty. I've been working plenty, but just doing kind of mundane things. Clean my garage, cleaning the garage, doing yard work.
Building e-bikes?
I
Built
built two of them.
Doing that.
Yep.
And so you're also working on some, I would imagine, some television projects that you can't really talk about, but those are always in the back burner.
Yeah.
Maybe one day you can drop the announcement, but we all pray you can. But until then, we'll just have to live through vague curiosity of what you're working on.
And I almost missed the show. I wanted to eat, just a little bit before I went on. I hadn't eaten all day. Throw in a frozen pizza, turn it on, the pizza oven, like those bar pizza ovens. Throw it in there, put the timer, put it on bake, go out on the deck, and I'm waiting for it, my clock in my head says go check on it. I go check on it, and somebody unplugged it.
Was it ever plugged in?
Yeah, well, of course, but somebody unplugged it.
Oh, that's the
God,
worst.
I'm just like, oh my.
That is the worst. I have been known to get a beautiful meal ready in the crock pot, a slow cooker, like a roast or whatever.
Oh, no.
Throw it in the morning, go, oh, this is going to be good. When I get home from work, it's going to be awesome. And I'll forget to plug the thing in. I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
That part I got down pat. But not plugging it in.
So
I get home.
Instead of cooking, everything went rotten.
Yeah. So I feel you there. Those little moments of what the hell moments.
Yeah, I've had one of those weeks. I've been, let's see, how would I put it? I feel like Rodney Dangerfield.
You're getting no respect? Is that your trying to say?
No respect at all.
Oh, boy.
Like, I'm looking at motorcycles last night, and I find this good deal on this really pretty blue motorcycle. And Yvette's, she's kind of looking over my shoulder. She goes, oh, my God, that thing's tarp blue. I went, what do you mean tarp blue? She goes, it looks like the color of one of those blue tarps.
Sure.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, am I dumb? But then I'm like, well, how do you know it's tarp blue? She goes, look right behind the motorcycle where the guy took the picture. There's a blue tarp. It matches exact.
So are you shopping for a new motorcycle?
I was just looking. I was trying to.
I know. Shopping begins a looking, and then you see the right deal, and then you end up buying it. Well, you do have 5 bathrooms to fill in your home, so
it's kind of one of those long things. I love motorcycles. I like working on them. You know, buying something that needs a little customizing. You know, a new seat and maybe fresh paint, but you know, nothing major. I enjoy doing that, and I must be bored this week. So I get bored quick.
So you're not a Harley Davidson man, are you?
Sure, I've had Harleys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a Harley Street Glide that I did sell recently to my insurance agent. It was just too big. It was just too big. It was just like, oh my God, this thing's taking up half my garage.
Well, you know, life is hard.
And I just sold my Victory Jackpot.
Okay.
You know what those are? Because Victory.
No.
Well, Victory is made by Polaris.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I understand the. Didn't know they had a jackpot or what even what it looks like, but yeah, the Victory motorcycles. They're kind of never quite lived up to being a Harley Davidson, but yeah, they're kind of that league of a Harley.
Well, they're American made, yeah. You know, air cooled. But they went out of business, or they basically discontinued the line because they wanted to start the Indian line.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they took Victory and turned it into an orphan. And of course, guys like me that had them, the values went to half.
Yeah.
Just
instead
literally
of going through the roof, it went half. Yeah.
So if you owned a $25,000 Victory, you take the first, level of depreciation, brings it down to 12, and suddenly you're stuck with a $6,000 motorcycle that you paid $25,000 for.
Yeah, I can understand that because they pulled all the servicing, they pulled all the parts.
Yep.
And they pulled anything that could make it run, really, if something happens.
People get scared.
Yeah, I remember Victory became a thing of the past. Because a lot of people were driving them because I think they're an automatic motorcycle.
No.
No?
Oh, no. No, they had a 103 cubic inch V-twin, very much like a Harley, actually a little smoother, little more advanced motor, in my opinion.
I used to own a Harley years ago, had a Sportster, 1200.
Yep.
That thing would scream down the highway pretty good.
Yep.
Enough to get you in trouble if you wanted to. And then in my youth, I had crotch rockets, Kawasaki Ninjas, I had a Katana, a Hayabusa. Went through that phase. And now I'd rather be on my four-wheeler than a street bike, personally. That's just me.
Of course, you live in the woods.
I do. And four-wheeling is fun. That's a good time right there. In fact, we put, the other day, I want to say we put about 60, 70 miles in the four-wheelers.
Are we doing that four-wheel trip?
Yes, that's still a month from today, in fact.
Yeah.
We'll be doing the ATV run.
I'm ready.
And you're going to be there.
Yep.
And you're going to love it because you got that brand new Yamaha Grizzly that has yet to see any kind of trail action.
Yes.
At all.
Yes.
Like, have you ridden the thing at all?
No.
Oh, so are you an experienced ATV rider?
Yeah. Actually, it was funny because I got invited by a friend of mine to go to Namaji and take an all-day trip, ATVs. So I got my ATV all ready. He calls me up and he goes, so-and-so can't go. You can just use his. It's already loaded.
Oh.
So I used his. See, he's got the same one.
So, but yours, you have yet to break the seal on it. You have yet to actually go on an excursion. So that'll be happening, of course, the 12th.
But, I had a Yamaha Grizzly that I had many, many thousands of miles on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I've been riding motocross ATVs since I was very young.
Yeah, ATVing is, if you enjoy nature and getting out in the woods and just being able to enjoy nature around you, it's a really enjoyable thing because I don't go fast.
Yeah.
I just I enjoy the trail. I puddle along, look at the scenery, something of interest I see, I stop. You know, like we've seen bald eagles, we've seen deer, we've seen moose, we've seen it all in the back of an ATV. And so it's always fun to do that because you get to get off that highway and really see what's in those woods.
It's true.
You know. But yeah, that, of course, is June 12th. Everyone's welcome to show up if you want to. It's going for a good cause. Care Partners, Minnesota Care Partners. And so all the donations we raise are going to be going to them. So if you got an ATV and you want to come riding with us, it will be up at Gilbert, Minnesota's OHV Park is where we're going to be taking off from, 10 a.m. So if you can make it, come out. Say you heard us on the radio and you want to be a part of it. So we'd love to have you. Moving along there, Doug, we got some news to get to. We got some really strange things and even some government news. Oh, by the way, obviously you probably heard about this. The pipeline.
Yeah.
People are losing their ever-loving minds about the pipeline.
Did you know, though, there's not enough gas? If everybody filled their tank, there wouldn't be enough gas in the country.
Yeah.
If everybody panicked and topped their tank off.
Well, that is true. I mean, there's plenty of gas. They're saying that it's a delivery issue, not a shortage issue.
Right.
That's what I read from the official statement. And it was allegedly, what the reporting, it was due to Russian hackers.
Yeah, right.
That had hacked.
Everything's Russian hackers.
Yeah. That's why I kind of say allegedly here because we don't for sure know.
No, they don't know.
You know, blame Russia. I mean, that's just the default setting, isn't it? You know, when anything happens, goes wrong, you stub your toe in the middle of the night. The damn Russians did it. You know, anything bad happens in this country, it's got to be the Russians.
Yeah. I don't buy it. It could be some kid living in his mom's basement.
You know, it was brought up to me at work, you know, Conspiracy Central at the old parts store, that it could be a conspiracy by the environmentalists. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, the timing, because Canada just told Michigan to shut their pipeline off.
Yep.
They just canceled the Keystone.
Yes.
And this one went down. And I'm like, is it pipeline month?
Yeah, it's a pipeline month to go down. And, well, the thing of it is as far as transporting gasoline, there is no safer way than the pipeline. The old way was trucks. Thousands upon thousands of semis on the highways delivering gas, which is far and away more dangerous than a pipeline.
One would think.
You know, because you have the traffic implications, you have the pollution implications. I mean, I heard about pollution. So, yeah, anyhow, that's what's going on in real news. But then we also have this high strangeness news that we're going to be talking about a little bit now. Marco Rubio, our favorite senator, is taking UFO seriously, and he thinks you should too. In a recent article, Senator Marco Rubio believes the truth is out there, and he wants to get past the UFO jokes to make sure that the national security of the United States isn't threatened in any way, he told Newsweek. Dozens of men and women we have entrusted with the defense of our country, this is him speaking, are telling us about encounters with unidentified aircraft with capabilities we do not fully understand. Rubio goes on to say in exclusive comments ahead of the 60 Minutes interview that dropped recently, we cannot allow the stigma of the UFOs to keep us from seriously investigating these encounters, he says. UFOs long dismissed and relegated to movies about aliens visiting Earth and breathless message boards, have begun to shed the farce label in recent years after the release of the footage of the high-profile U.S. military encounters with aircraft of unknown origin in 2019. Leaked the photos and video that we all know and we've all seen by now. The Tic Tac incident was taken by U.S. Navy personnel of one such encounter, which showed triangle-shaped objects flying through the air, were confirmed to be authentic by the Defense Department in April.
It's been debunked. The triangle one's been debunked.
So the U.S. Navy footage that's so famous has been debunked.
No, the new one they released has been debunked.
Ah, gotcha. I thought you were saying the Tic Tac.
It's been proven that night vision, the aperture is a triangle. And the way they filmed it was filming its own aperture.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been proven, I think, without a doubt. Not that everybody knows about it or it's been talked about, but it's been proven.
Well, Rubio would like to understand these craft better in an effort to defend ourselves against said craft if we need to.
Right.
And I don't believe that his heart's in the right place, but is it possible to defend ourselves?
No. How would it be?
Well, we couldn't keep up with them even if we tried.
We'd be shooting north and they'd be hitting us from the south within a second. Just not going to happen.
So I guess what he's doing is, like I said, his heart's in the right place, but it's a fool's errand.
Yeah. Anyhow,
what do you think?
That whole story is just, it's kind of old. It's very interesting. I do hope they release more. Certainly the naval ones are authentic, because they were documented on radar, filmed, ground, people on the boat saw them. Pilots saw them, so it's very, very confirmed. But the triangle ones were different.
Yeah.
Those were, that was just video. I think it was shot maybe by somebody who was just on board a ship with a night vision camera. And I don't think they meant, it wasn't a hoax. It was just, what would you call it? It's basically an accidental thing that happened.
Inadvertently
they
uploaded
what they saw, what they could see with the night vision.
Yeah.
But it's been duplicated now by other night visions, the same triangles.
Yeah. So that unfortunately didn't hold water, but the Tic Tac one still does.
God,
that is still authentic. And the government, the Department of Defense even put their stamp of absolute approval on that was real. So, just before anyone goes, wait a minute. Well, with the Tic Tac, that was real. So, what do you know about Skinwalker Ranch there, Doug?
Quite a bit.
Yeah? Care to share?
What do you want to know?
Well, tell us. Okay, unexplained phenomena baffles owner of infamous Skinwalker Ranch. According to Mystery Wire, Skinwalker Ranch in northern Utah could be considered the strangest place on the earth. The ranch is among the most intensely studied paranormal hotspots anywhere in the world. Current owner and businessman Brandon Fugel has installed a team of investigators and banks of surveillance camera in hopes of capturing all the strangeness on the property.
Don't you watch the show, Joel?
I'm probably going to get yelled at by somebody. I've never seen the show.
Oh my gosh. It's been on for 2 years now.
I know, but it's a Skinwalker. The problem I have with shows, and I've watched them, and I've done this, I've done that, they never go anywhere. They never show any groundbreaking evidence. They never actually show anything big. I mean, it's just, there's no payoff at these shows.
Yeah, I'll agree.
I mean, there just isn't.
Yeah.
Ghost hunters never truly found a ghost. Finding Bigfoot still is looking for Bigfoot. All these shows leave us with, oh, that was an interesting waste of my life because we're no closer. Yay!
But it's entertainment.
It is. If you do it for that, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, the shows that are really popular now are the ones where there's kind of this process digging.
Oh, you mean
trying technology?
But don't you find that as the viewer though? Don't people get bored of that? The process.
God, there's people that just love it because how about these these shows where they go out and just catch fish?
I get that. No, I understand the market.
But see, Joel, what you're not thinking about is that's what people love, is seeing the exact same show every week.
It's very repetitive.
No, but that's what they love about it.
No, I get it. And you and TV know far better than I do what makes these shows tick.
Yeah, it's a little different, but it's pretty much the same. So if you watch 2 episodes of, The Curse of Oak Island, you're pretty much going to see the same show.
How about MonsterQuest? When you're doing MonsterQuest, did you ever find a monster?
Yeah, of course. We looked there was a monster reported in the St. Lawrence River, freshwater river. We found a 12-foot shark and filmed it.
Yes, I do remember that. But what I'm saying is,
we went after the giant squid. We found it.
You found it, yeah. But what I'm saying is, the monsters that you found were actual living creatures that exist. And that's cool because they're still monsters. Don't get me wrong. But none of these shows ever get the mythical monster, right? Or any closer to that monster, right?
No.
But like MonsterQuest, and I only use that because you're with me, and it's a great show, by the way. If you've never seen an episode, that actually is one of the shows I used to watch all the time. Good show. Just like the nature part of it too, the locales. But I was promised that they were going to find Bigfoot. Like, we're going to try our best. And we still haven't found it yet. So those kind of shows, I guess my point is, for me personally, and this is just me, this is not anyone else's opinion,
right?
Just mine, is I get bored quickly with it. If there's no payoff, I get really bored really quick. That's just me.
Well, that's good.
Just throwing it out there.
No, but there's many shows like The Curse of Oak Island. Skinwalker Ranch is, it's just a well-produced show. But if they think they're going to solve the exact mystery, probably not.
Yeah, more than likely not. But I mean, like you said.
Yeah, there is a mystery.
But you're right though. I mean, they like the digging. The show is all about the build up. Yep. The show is all about watching it. I get it.
Everything's
but that's why I never watched Skinwalker. Because I'm like, here's another show that's gonna give me no payoff.
Right. And you could turn into any week and you're gonna see them use that tri-field meter. And you're gonna see maybe some digging, talking.
Yeah. The same thing I saw last week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get Brandon on the show. Brandon is a friend of my nephew.
Okay.
And I'll give Brandon a call and we'll get him on.
That would be.
But the mysteries are interesting. It's fascinating. I'd
like to hear it firsthand. Yeah. The mysteries. Firsthand what's going on. I mean, obviously, he has a huge interest because he bought the property.
Yep.
And it wasn't. I'm sure buying the property was no small feat.
No.
I'm sure that it was a.
I think Bob Bigelow was kind of done with it. I mean, he had done research for 10 years with the NIDS. Mm-hmm. Which was the National Institute for Discovery Science. And they just kind of gave up. They just exhausted all of the things that they could do. And they documented a lot of weird stuff.
Have you been there yet? Have you been to Skinwalker?
No, I've not.
You need to go. And when you go, call me. I'll come with you.
Yeah.
We'll do a live radio show right there from Skinwalker.
There you go. No, I'm sure I could get the opportunity. I'm just, it's certainly not a huge place.
Yeah. How many acres is it? Like 500 acres, isn't it?
I don't know, but it's not all that big. But the chances of anything happening when you're there, slim to nothing.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. But anyhow, he is really taking this seriously according to this article.
Yeah.
And this is Mystery Wire that brings us this article. And he is trying to do it from another approach, and it's, have investigators there all the time, have the banks of cameras, things like that. So I do appreciate that maybe he's taking a different approach at it that might yield some results.
I wonder if they own any of the new Sony. It's called the Sony A7 camera. This is 409,000 ISO.
Wow.
Which is, basically the higher the number, the lower light camera.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet you your cameras, even an IR camera is probably 12,000 ISO. Yeah. This is 409, and I got to use one last, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, it was on Sunday. We were out till 3 a.m, and we had an A7 with us, borrowed to us. Oh my God, we went out to a swamp. First thing, pitch black, no moon, no stars out. It was like daytime.
I bet. That's amazing.
It looked like a sunny day.
Yeah.
In color.
Man.
4K.
That's the camera to have, right?
Yes. There. So I'm just wondering if I've never seen an A7 at the Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, they're not cheap, but I think Brandon could afford them. I mean, they have a TV show, History Channel that'll pay for them.
Yeah. Well, maybe when we talk to them, you can ask them that question.
Yeah.
If they're utilizing that technology at all.
But I was thinking, Joel, okay, I'm sitting here in my car, shooting out the window at the swamp, doing surveillance of the swamp where there's been numerous Bigfoot sightings. And with an IR camera, even a thermal, you're very doubtful going to get anything that far away. This was, it was illuminating everything like daytime miles away. We had a 400 millimeter lens, a zoom lens. And man, it's just, but I was thinking, if I've got this in my hands, what does the military have?
Right. Yeah. Because if this is just now hitting the consumer market.
Yep.
Could you imagine the level that the government has access to in the military? I mean, it's got to be 2x, 3 times what you're using.
I would think twice at the least. Yeah, they've got to have. And the weird thing is we weren't even all the way up. We were at probably 390 ISO.
Okay.
When the camera goes to 409. So it was incredible.
That is incredible stuff. Hopefully someday I get to use something of that caliber of equipment. That'd be a lot of fun. We got to get out of here, Doug. We got to go to break. When we come back, you're going to want to hang out for Cynthia Sue Larson, Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson. We're going to take a deep dive into time shifts, reality shifts, and the Mandela effect. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. Doug, you made it through the break. You're still happy and stuff.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You're still there.
I was reading about the Great Wall of China.
Oh,
I was
during
thinking,
the break.
I don't even know how long that is. I looked it up. It's 13,000 miles.
That's insanity.
That is. I mean, think about that. 13,000.
Well, you can see it from space.
That's like across the country. What? 4 times.
That's crazy. And to think, people built this. I mean,
with no equipment.
No equipment, and it's a big wall. I've never been to the wall. Have you been to the Great Wall?
No, I've not. But then I found out that a lot of it was built with rice powder, flour.
Wow.
They mixed rice flour with the mortar, with the limestone mortar.
That's such a very random topic to bring up.
I don't know. I was just looking at it. Sorry.
No,
told you.
That's great.
I can't sit still.
Tonight we have something I would say, I don't want to say more epic than the Great Wall of China, but it's certainly up there. We have Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson on tonight. So, I'm pretty jazzed about that. I'm pretty excited. Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson is a best-selling author of several books, including Quantum Jumps, Reality Shifts, and High Energy Money. Cynthia has a degree in physics from UC Berkeley. Wow, that's prestigious school. An MBA degree, a Doctor of Divinity, and a second degree black belt in Kuk Sool Won, if I actually pronounce that correctly. It's don't mess with her, Doug. She'll beat you up, man.
You're not joking.
I'm just saying. Cynthia is the founder of Reality Shifts, president of the International Mandela Effect Conference, managing director of Foundations of Mind, and creator and host of Living the Quantum Dream. Well, welcome to Untold Radio AM, Dr. Cynthia Sue Larson.
Oh, this is such a pleasure to be here. I'm so glad that you guys have time and that we can talk about my favorite topics for
we got lots of time.
A nice long stretch. Love it.
Yeah. So I guess right off the top, what made you interested in all these great subjects? I mean, what brought you into it? You know, you have a doctorate in physics from Berkeley, I mean, which is a prestigious school. But what got you into reality shifts and quantum jumps and the Mandela effect?
Okay, well, actually, I've got a bachelor's in physics. I want to be honest about that. I've a Doctor of Divinity, so there could be some confusion. I want to sort that right out. So there's nobody
about that.
No problem. But UC Berkeley keeps making it to the top 10 lists, the top 30 lists of world-class universities. So getting a bachelor's at Berkeley is a big deal still.
That is a big deal.
And I have stayed in touch with a lot of the professors there, and also I've organized conferences, written papers, and been selected sometimes to speak on behalf of honoring some of our greatest physicists, such as Henry Stapp, Dr. Henry Stapp here in Berkeley. But what got me interested? That's a great question. I've had a lifelong love of all things what you might call metaphysical, because I have a fascination with the true nature of reality and consciousness. And I've been aware that I've been seeing things that other people weren't, frankly. So it's a little bit annoying, to be surrounded by people that aren't witnessing what you're seeing. So I guess I've just got that predisposition to see things that other people would call, barely there, energy fields, things, dimensional beings, things like that. I've had lucid dreaming since childhood. So there's a broader category that this falls under called born aware that author Diane Brandon has studied. So that's another way to look at it, kind of like a near-death experiencer who came in remembering where you came from before you got here. So that's the short version.
That's interesting. I mean, I find all these subjects just really, really interesting. And one of them is, and we're going to cover a lot of topics tonight, but one of them is that Mandela effect. And since I became aware of the Mandela effect, like how I became aware of it, I guess, is a couple instances in my own life. Like recently, like when Billy Graham passed away, right? I remember him passing away in the 90s, or even in the early 2000s, because I remember the big funeral, and I remember all the processions, I remember all the pomp and circumstances. Then, of course, he passes away, and at that moment of going, well, wait a minute. I remember vividly the news coverage. I remember it very vividly. And so after that kind of happened, I took a pause, started poking around, because I've heard of the Mandela effect just kind of peripherally. I really wasn't diving into it. But so I decided to do that. What does this all mean? And so I guess what I had would that be considered a classic example of the Mandela effect, where I feel I witnessed one reality, but yet another is playing out in front of me?
Yes, that's a classic case of exactly that same type of phenomenon. There are many categories of Mandela effects. They affect all sorts of things, but witnessing someone who's like, gosh, he died already, and now he's dying again. They're reporting this again. What's going on? It can make you question your own memories. So, but the fact that now we have the internet, people can share these experiences. It's giving us the ability for the first time, really, in the history of humanity, to compare notes and notice that certain memories are matching for large numbers of people. So if this is, I mean, some people say, the skeptics might say it's confabulation, mass misremembering, that kind of thing. But those of us like you and I, when it happens to you, that's a whole different thing, especially if you have a flip-flop where you see something and then it switches to something else and it switches back again. Then you know, like, okay, something's really going on here. So that alive again. Some people say, well, that's a strange example. I don't think it's strange. I think it happens quite a lot. I think it's been happening for a long time, and only in the recent couple of decades that we've had the internet and the social media, such ease of comparing notes. That's when finally we get the chance.
Well, when I brought it up to some colleagues, they said, well, check out Oscar Mayer and check out Bernstein Bears. And so I started going down that rabbit hole with everybody else. And it is nuts. It is truly crazy because I remember these things the way everyone else does. And like even as far as Forrest Gump, right? I mean, I know in that movie, he said for 100% fact, life is like a box of chocolates. Not life was like a box of chocolates. Little things like that. And they're never, most of them aren't giant like, you know, the Billy Graham thing, but they're little. A lot of them are little, and you just know that you're not going insane, or at least you hope you're not. And that's how you remembered it. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's been since 2009 the term Mandela effect was coined, but before that, a lot of us were already noticing individual cases of reality shifts. And so that's when I started my website, Reality Shifters, back in the 1990s, wrote that book, Reality Shifts, mentioning Larry Hagman being alive again. That was a big deal. He was an actor on Dallas who shot J.R. Ewing, and I'm not the only one that remembered that he died and was alive again. So he was the first individual that I know of that was written about in that alive again category of the Mandela effect. But the bigger ones are definitely the ones you're mentioning, and they're happening all the time. It doesn't stop. It's not just Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, it really extends far and wide. Doug, have you ever had a moment of the Mandela effect in your own life?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, more times than I like to probably even think about. I've had things, Cynthia, like drop a spray can, and you watch it hit the ground, and you never see it again. And to me, that's, I don't know, is that the Mandela effect, or is that a glitch? Is this something that have you heard other people, mention things like this?
This just happened to me like last month. I was literally holding a bottle. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm holding a bottle of furniture polish, and it was almost empty. And I thought, well, I need to clean the dining table, so I'm just going to shake it down. I made the mistake. Maybe it didn't matter, but I didn't look at it when I shook it. It was in my hand. It flew out of my hand. Everything's normal so far. But what it should have done next was hit what was right behind it. I was walking through the kitchen. I'd walked into the kitchen, shut the door behind me. Now I shook it. That trajectory would have struck the oven with a bang. There was no bang. There was no sound. I couldn't hear anything. So I spun around like, where'd it go? And I thought, oh no, it's one of these. So I just, I laughed eventually. At first I'm frustrated, like, I need this bottle, but I couldn't find it. Whoa. So I checked inside the oven. I know that's silly, but you never know. Maybe it went right through the oven door. I looked all.
you never stop looking for these things.
Well, but you know what? I did find it again. I just, this is impossible because I'm in the kitchen with the door closed. It's not in the kitchen. I checked the garbage, the refrigerator, the oven, none of those places. And then what I do is I just say, okay, no questions asked. I would like that back again. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't come back, but I would love it back again. And I just let go of it. Like, well, it's probably gone. And so I decided, well, no point carrying this rag around. So I'm putting things back away. As I walk out of the kitchen, across the hall, I see something in the living room. And it's in front of the TV set, some 20, 30 feet from where I had shaken it, and it had vanished. There's no way I could, even if the door was open, which it wasn't, I couldn't have made that trick shot through the kitchen, across the hall, and into the living room. There's just no way. Plus, I would have heard it. The whole thing was just, epically, classically, a reality shift, as I would call it. You're right. Some people call it a glitch in the matrix. And yes, I do think it is part of the Mandela effect. It's an individual case.
So you're thinking they're all related.
Yes, I definitely see a relationship. And I also, go ahead.
well, my biggest question is,
can I help you, ma'am?
Well, it's actually my lawn that needs help.
No problem. Try this grass seed.
Okay, sounds good.
And some fertilizer. And of course, a soil enhancer. Try these to start.
To start?
Lawn care doesn't have to be complicated. With everything you need for a lush, healthy lawn all in one bag, Pennington Lawn Booster gives you quicker, thicker, greener grass guaranteed.
The reasons to treat yourself to a frozen drink from McDonald's go on and on. No reason is also a perfectly good reason. It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink.
Enjoy our new frozen drinks today. Treat yourself to bold flavors like blue raspberry Fanta, wild cherry Fanta, and frozen Coke. At participating McDonald's, Coca-Cola and Fanta are registered trademarks of the Coca-Cola Company.
Did it really happen? Okay, I was spraying a motorcycle. I had the special paint I had ordered. Get it in, and I'm spraying this motorcycle. So when I dropped it, I was then out of my paint. But I knew I had it because I had already painted part of the motorcycle. Never found it again. And I'm talking, my garage is highly organized, vinyl floor. I witnessed what looked like it going through the floor. It's the best way I can describe it. It's haunting. And I had to wait, and I had to get more paint, and I start over. But that's happened a number of times to me, more so with smaller things, and you just never find them again,
Right.
So I guess my question is, did it really happen? Did it really disappear? Or did I not really have the paint?
Well, you said it yourself. You painted part of the bike already. Yeah. And you also added the important detail. You have a very clean shop. So that's a vinyl floor. Everything's in its place.
Yeah.
Place for everything. And there's no, I'm sure you checked thoroughly. You probably looked all around.
Yeah.
And if it had gone anywhere within reason, you would have found it.
Yeah.
And it would have turned up eventually, but it didn't. And
Where's it going? Where's it going?
This is where I love to just look at the similarities between what we're noticing here and what we see if you're observing the quantum experiments, quantum phenomena. You'll see teleportation, you'll see tunneling, you'll see superposition of states. Everything that we're witnessing in our regular reality happens in that quantum scale. So it's within the realm of nature. In my life, I tend to get things appearing, like money, food, things that I need, usually. Or if it disappears, it usually, not always, but usually reappears. I've had some major exceptions, but no questions asked, and I'm still happy if they show up sometime, especially jewelry, that kind of thing. Like, that would be nice.
I keep imagining there's a dimension full of lost car keys, paint cans, and other things that we've lost, and just collecting a giant trash heap of a dimension, because these things have to be going somewhere. But then sometimes they reappear, like your furniture polish.
Absolutely.
And you didn't throw it there. It never impacted anything around you.
Now, I'd been listening to, you may wonder what mind state I was in right before it happened. I usually ask experience of reality shifts. What were you thinking? How were you feeling before, in your case, Doug, this incident occurred with the paint? And in my case, I'd been listening to a podcast of Dean Radin talking about real magic. So it's like, and I posted this on social media. Then Dean Radin saw it, and then he added a funny comment. He said, well, that explains what happened. I was in my kitchen, and briefly there was this appearance of furniture polish there for a few minutes, then gone. He was just being silly. But yeah, exactly. We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what bothers me more than anything is that then nothing will happen for years. And so you're thinking, okay, that happened, but why doesn't it just keep happening? And I want to relay one more story about my shop. And this one was really amazing. This one might be unique. So I had this big metal plate that had 3 holes. And I took it off, loosened the bolts, took off this metal plate. There were 3 big rods that are completely welded, right? There's no way any of this can move. This is high tolerance. So I slide this plate off, I set it down, and I'm going to put it back on again. None of the holes match. Okay, now this is a high tolerance thick, 1/2-inch thick steel. 3 stainless steel rods that are about 1.5 inches in diameter. So I pull it off, and of course, then you're thinking, oh, I must have flipped it upside down. So you flip it back upside down, and it's a triangle of dots or holes. And same thing, everything's a 1/2 inch off, to the east and the west, and the middle rod is also a 1/2 inch off, as if this thing came off something that was a 1/2 inch bigger all the way around it. So I go and get Yvette, and I said, you've got to see this. So I show her the plate, let her play with it. She's like, you just took that off? I said, yeah, it's so far off, there's no way it came off. So she goes, let's just lay it on there, and let's go sit down and just relax. But we're going to keep our eyes on it. So we sit down, relax, we're sitting in the chair, and all of a sudden, maybe 5 minutes later, it starts sliding down.
No.
Holes matched up. She saw it too. It was so, like you said, this is so precision.
Yes.
That it just slid on its own, and we just looked at each other and did the glitch, the glitch. But that's, we're talking 2 people witnessed it, solid steel, and solid steel. I don't know. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Not exactly like that, but
Well,
I've seen spoon bending. I've seen Uri Geller. My daughter bent a fork, just letting it melt over her wrist, and there was nothing magical or hot or anything going on. So if that stuff can happen, then sure, anything can happen. What I love is when you talk to Yvette, and she said, just relax.
Yeah.
You were wondering, how do you do
I
this?
was freaking out.
That's how you do it. If you want to, because remember, if it is, as I suspect, a quantum phenomenon, then you access that wave state of all possibilities when you're in basically a theta mind state, when you get your brain waves into that relaxed daydream, hypnagogic or hypnopompic state where you're basically in a daydream, just relaxing. Mm-hmm. You let it go. You don't fixate I need that and get panicky and nerve-wracked about it. You need to. It's perfect how you're just getting into that peaceful state of beingness, and just the more you can feel grounded, the better. Just kind of just relax and calm down, and just feel how much you love whatever it is that would be the optimal situation. In this case, those holes to be where they should be. And don't get fixated on what just happened there.
Yeah. That's so, but a case like that is so different than just thinking you saw something. This was truly off. All 3 holes were off by 1/2 inch. I'm an engineer. And I've, worked with these plates and rods many times. You couldn't bend it with a semi-truck. So there you go. And it just, to me, that was like, it was like the universe telling me that I am not in control.
For me now, it's tools. I'll set a tool down.
Yeah.
I'll be in my garage. Working on, I work on a lot of 4-wheelers and cars and this. I know I'll set that wrench down and it'll be gone. And I'll look and I'll look and I'll look because I need that wrench. That's the only 18 millimeter wrench I have in my toolbox, and now it's gone. And now can't do anything without it. So a week later, I will be in my garage after I've replaced the 18 millimeter wrench that went missing, and I'll find that other 18 millimeter wrench on a shelf on the opposite side of the room. It makes no sense. It really does not make. And it seems like it happens. It's more of an annoyance.
Yeah.
It's nothing huge, but it's just enough annoyance like you and the plate.
Well,
to
what I
make
wonder,
you question things.
Is all this just math, Cynthia? Is it just quantum physics, or is it other dimensions that suddenly you maybe got your foot in both dimensions?
It does feel, when it's happening to me, like I've got my feet in two worlds, for sure. And once you know it's happening, you don't have to stay on the downer version of things vanishing and warping in weird ways. You can find money in your wallet when you need to tip the waitress, when you can just pull dollar bill after dollar bill out of an empty wallet, as I've done. So it can go the other direction, but then you need to know and have faith that that is what happens. You have to know that this physical reality is it's just like at the tip of the iceberg, and it's actually powered, if you will, by energy, by thought, by, it's basically our emotions, our love. And if you can stay, like I still love what happened when you called Yvette. That was brilliant. If you could call her every time these things happen, or someone like that, all the stories would end up differently.
And plus, it's good to have that witness, Doug.
Well,
you had that other witness there.
Well, you think you're going crazy. You're like, nobody wants to feel crazy. And so it's so nice having a witness. And then when it all just started, it just fit, and it fit so perfect, it just slid on by itself. You go, that really happened. There really was a glitch or a different dimensional situation. And I find that, maybe thinking even about ghosts that we've heard, and I always think, well, maybe it's just another dimension or an echo of, from a day ago or a week ago of somebody walking through the bedroom, or, you know what I mean?
Well, ghosts, I do genealogy, and sometimes ghosts are active real time, and they seem to know what's going on in families. So I think there's more to it. I think it would be more like Bigfoot, although I haven't studied it the way you guys have. But from what I've heard, Bigfoot seems like really keyed into this dimensional consciousness, the awareness that I think humans are just getting our toes wet with. We're just barely able to even interact with reality this way at a level that Bigfoot already knows. And so, for Bigfoot, it's like, yeah, no problem. I can leave a few footprints, and now, whoops, they're gone. Where'd I go? Like, how'd that happen? Well, I think that's what humans are getting a taste of right now with these, what you call glitches, what I've been calling reality shifts. There's an author that studied this same phenomenon called Mary Rose Barrington in England. And I had not heard of her until just this last year when Jeff Mishlove mentioned that she'd written a book, just one of those things, tracking this same phenomena since 1900. She's now passed away, but that's a long track record of these incidents that have been recorded. And so it just shows this is going back a lot longer. I bring that up because some of the skeptics, they say, well, these glitches, it proves that there's something rotten going on with the Large Hadron Collider. They want to say it's clearly, a simulation theory. That's where they feel, for some reason, comfortable going. To me, that doesn't match what we're noticing with millennia of Bigfoot observations that indigenous peoples have made, millennia of shamans recognizing that the same thing we're talking about has been considered normal for shamans. But now everyday people like you and I are going through it. So,
and that happened long before the collider was around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
it's true, but do you think things that they're doing at CERN would have any effect on our realities or our dimensions?
It's possible, but I think that the bottom line will always be with our own consciousness. I think we're more powerful than any of the machines. And I think that's what we're supposed to be noticing, ideally, with the experiences that we're sharing. I think that's supposed to be a takeaway. Like, wow, this isn't working the way we thought it worked. It's not classical physics here. There's something else. And I think indigenous wisdom parallels quantum consciousness ideas. The idea that we are more of a verb than a noun. We are a beingness, and we are connected. So these are things that are very ancient truths spiritually, and also ancient to indigenous cultures. But now, the more we delve into the quantum realms, the more we start seeing things like this that may Maybe things are not the way we thought. It's not just a nuts and bolts reality. There's definitely a capability of quantum, the indivisible particles, the tiniest particles, to do some really strange things. And that's what really runs all of nature. Fundamentally, we're all quantum.
Wow.
So to confirm, so what you're saying is basically, what I'm experiencing is caused by me or part of my world. It's not because somebody in Norway is messing with, a collider. It's basically what I'm doing. It's my mind.
Yes, we take for granted who we are, and then we sell ourselves short. We tend to think we're just our little meat suit bodies, and we don't recognize that there's a lot more that each of us has access to, and that we're capable of engaging with, consciously even.
So that's intention, though. I mean, is our intention influencing outcomes? Yes,
that makes a difference. And it also matters what you pay attention to. And that's the subconscious. That's where it comes in handy to do some sort of martial art. That's Kuk Sool Won that I've been practicing, taking a break from it during this pandemic. But that was, definitely a good way to study mind, body, spirit interaction and feeling that energy, the internal ki flowing, and noticing that things can absolutely be affected by your attention with your intention. So it's really the fullness of your being, the subconscious with the mindset, and then also what you love. What you love matters. If you don't love it, you're going to get kind of indifferent results.
Is it possible that, like, let's say my subconscious wanted me to see what I saw? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out the purpose of this.
Well, I don't know if you remember your mindset state, what you were thinking, what you were feeling right around the time.
I do. I was excited, like I always am when I'm, if I'm building something or assembling something, I get excited. So I'm in a good mood.
That's good. So that was a feeling of just so excited, and that's energized. You're more likely to experience these kinds of phenomena when you're energized. If you're not grounded, then they can kind of go in a funky way. It's just like if you're playing with electricity and you don't ground anything, like, woo!
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
ball lightning in the room. Help!
Right.
So that's why I said you need Yvette. You need someone to come and just ground you. Like, okay, just calm. Everything's fine. And get back down to grounded. And then you can stay energized. That's fine once you're grounded. And then just, it really helps to feel what you love. We are a full body chakra being. So the subconscious has these lower level chakras or energy centers, if you will. And that focuses on what we need. It's fight or flight. It's what you absolutely need. The middle chakras have a lot to do with what we care about, what we love, how we communicate, how we carry ourselves, how we feel that others see us, that kind of stuff. The high self is that intention. So when people say, like, I'm just intending, that's great, but you're only really going to get what you're paying attention to, and it's subconscious. So it's going to be running that whole show. And if you haven't been working with all of yourself, then absolutely you can get these interesting phenomena occurring.
There was a strange thing that happened with me and my dad. There was a time where I'd even walk near him and I would start cracking up. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing. And he was getting kind of mad at me. He's like,
was his haircut?
I was laughing when you're... And it would only be when I'd be so close to him, I would start laughing. And all of a sudden one day he said, "Oh, I know why you're laughing." And I'm like, yeah, why is it every time I even come near you, I just start getting giggly. And he goes, "Oh, I've been practicing yoga. And I've been doing these exercises where I'm breathing into my some chakra or stomach thing where the happiness center is." He said, "I think I've been overcharging it." And so when I'd walk near him, I would just burst into laughter. And so he said, "I'm going to stop doing that." It did. It went away. But
wow.
it's just a weird, when you were mentioning this chakras, and my dad practiced yoga, but he practiced the type of yoga that was more the breathing, I don't know anything about yoga, but he claimed that he would have to kind of recharge all of his different centers.
Yes. Well, that's similar to the martial arts too. If anything that you do, like qigong, yoga, tai chi, martial arts, it's all about the breathing. And the breathing, you might think, well, what's to that? We all breathe. Yes, but it's how you breathe that makes a difference.
Right.
And it's totally empowering. And there are things you can do to charge yourself up, like you said. And that's so cool that you could feel that in your dad's energy field.
Yeah. What are quantum jumps? Exactly. I mean, I was studying for the show, and I watched one of your videos out there, and it was talking about quantum jumps.
Yes.
What are they, and how do they work, and how are they utilized?
The way I use the term is, let's start with what originally it was known to be. A quantum jump in physics originally had to do with just noticing that there would be what was thought at the time to be a very abrupt, instantaneous change in, for example, the position of an electron orbiting around an atom. And people could actually see these quantum jumps. They'd see like a flash of light as the electron moved from one orbit around the nucleus to another. So there'd be an energy exchange, a flash, and they were just blown away, like, whoa, I've seen a quantum jump. Okay, so that was the first meaning of it. Now, a quantum jump, the way I'm using the term, is to acknowledge that we are able to witness some instantaneous shifts between one's circumstance of physical reality and another. And it may be anything from one thing that's remarkably common but not talked about in our culture. So I'll put it out there. Then the listeners can know if it's happened to them. They don't have to stay quiet. They can find someone to talk to about it. It's remarkably common. It's where people are in an oncoming car situation about to be killed. And the next thing they know, the cars have switched places impossibly. It's like they've gone through each other, like an 18-wheeler. Yeah. This happens to a lot of people. I know that because when I've given talks and mentioned it, I get flooded afterwards by people just saying, I've never told this to anyone. I know everyone would think I'm crazy. It sounds impossible. But I swear this happened to me, that they were just about to wipe out. That would be it. It was curtains. They'd be dead. And the next thing they know, the vehicles have just switched places.
That happened to me. Years ago, I was in the car driving along, and I was going through an intersection. A lady ran her stop sign coming right at me, and I'm looking at this car and I'm thinking, this is really gonna hurt, because I knew I was gonna... Next second, next split, just whatever, I'm through the intersection thinking, wow, that was close. I know I should have been hit. I mean, I just know it. And you had that feeling, like, it gave us really strange feeling, like, just, I haven't been here before, just for a split second. Like, I went into another dimension and reemerged on the other side, whereas an alternate timeline happened, and I was unscathed. It was the weirdest moment.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's great that you survived and that happened, so you lived to tell about it. And I wish more people would talk about it, because it's now I hope we're getting it out there. We're making a difference so people can talk about it. But there's some kind of a stigma. I think have you told many people about it?
Yeah. I've told quite a few people. It's like, it was so weird, because it was like there was a fast forward or like a blink of time. You know, like I was there in the intersection in 1 second, and then a blink of time again, and I was already through. And I can't account for that in between time. You know, right. You know what I mean? You know, where I crossed the intersection. That's like totally gone on my mind. I just remember coming back to thinking about it, like, that was strange, after I was already through the intersection and to safety. And this lady was... gonna hit me. She couldn't have been more than 30 feet away 40 feet away when I saw it, and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, because everything slows right down when you think, something's bad's going to happen. And I remember thinking that this is really going to hurt. And then the next instance when my consciousness caught up on myself, I was through the intersection, I was fine, she was going on her merry way. And so I can't explain at all how that shift happened and how that change happened, but I just know it did. But it kind of gave me an eerie, odd feeling that I kind of felt in my soul that something strange just happened, something remarkable.
Yes.
And since that's happened, I've told other people, more and more people have similar moments, like bikes or this or that, where they're in a moment of peril and they just know something bad is going to happen, but then they find themselves unscathed on the other side and they can't explain how it happened.
A lot of people are also thrown to safety. They're in a car and then suddenly they're not. And when the police officers or whoever come to see what happened, then they don't know how to explain what happened. There is no explanation because there was no time to get out of the car that was traveling at 50 miles an hour before it hit something. And there's no way they could have exited the car daintily and then, sat down over here by the side of the road.
Because this lady was going 60 miles an hour. This is on a highway intersection. And I can't explain how it happened. I just know it happened, and I want to say it was just wasn't my time, or I try to rationalize it, but I still don't have that answer until we're just talking now, and it fits.
And then where I go to is the idea of quantum tunneling, of course, because that's where you've got two things that can just pass through each other. You've got matter that can go through other matter. It happens on the quantum scale. And that means, since we are all quantum beings, it's less likely, but equally possible that all of you could also do the same thing, and your car.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine after I told him about my instance, and he said, a drunk driver coming at me the wrong lane. And it was like the cars went through each other, like you're describing.
Yes.
And I'm fine. And so, like I said, on the story, since I kind of talked to my friends and people I knew about it, it was amazing how many people have those moments and times that they cannot explain, but they're fine. It was almost like the universe stepped in to stop that from happening, like for whatever, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it what have you. There was an intervention had happened to stop that.
Yes. Oh, that's really true. And I know we can help each other. We can help each other with the way we care about one another. And that very well can save people. I've heard from people who were soldiers who were shot at and things were blowing up behind them, but they were not affected. That's like, there's a scene like that in Pulp Fiction. It's happened in real life. That's not just a fictional movie. That's like, this has happened a lot. I mean, not all the time, but enough that people are like, that happened to me. So that's crazy. But this does happen. So it's pretty much any kind of, we can all be like Neo in The Matrix, just at that level. And again, it's that level of identity is what it seems like to me. We're talking about dimensional awareness. I think that does play a big part in it. And what I notice with the chakras, when you get up to your crown chakra, we are now developing chakras above the crown of our head. We're developing the ability to recognize our self-identity at a higher level than even totally fits in our body. And at that level, we can really see a lot of these kind of phenomena.
Can you kind of explain? There are tons of people that don't even know what a chakra is. So can you give a maybe kind of a 6th grade level explanation?
Yeah, there are little vortices of energy that they're measurable. They send out EMF fields. The strongest one in the body is at the heart center. So if you put your hand over your heart, you can just sort of feel that energy. Sometimes it's yours, so it's maybe hard to feel it. Like, I don't know what I'm feeling. But if you have a sensitivity, or you just meditate and allow yourself to expand that, your heart centeredness, just feel more and more love. Let that energy field grow. You might just feel like, I think I'm feeling something. So that's an example of one of the chakras. That's the center chakra. And then there are 3 primary chakras above. one at the throat, the third eye, the crown of the head, and then 3 below. And these energy centers are correlated with Eastern medicine practices, whether it's internal martial arts. Ours has a healing component to it as well, looking at the pressure points and how they're all aligned with the energy centers and everything. So it goes together. It's an internal energy system.
Yeah. And Reiki. I mean, I have some good friends that are practitioners of Reiki. My crown chakra likes to get a little cluttered. My third eye does. So they give me a hand once in a while, and that helps a lot with decision making. If you get that uncluttered, gives you a clear thought, clear mind. So, I can definitely tell a difference.
Yeah. So it's when we notice these energetic effects, then, and if people don't know Reiki, that's a fun thing to check out. I think Lynn McTaggart is even doing these groups of 8, and they're working with the Choku-rei Reiki. Basically, it's nothing spooky or bad. It's just universal love energy from a global source, and sharing it with other people, and then finding that you can be a conduit for that and benefit as well.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's Eastern medicine, right? I mean, it really comes from Eastern. Yeah, it's very interesting, especially the energies that they deal with.
Yeah, when I wrote my book, Quantum Jumps, I didn't get too into that stuff. I kept it more left brain so that you could show this book to your neighbor, to your parents, to your friends, to anybody, and it wouldn't look too out there. I mean, it's kind of out there, but it was all based on scientific research that's cutting edge that we're seeing right now that quantum technology is coming out, and we're getting evidence to prove that these things that might sound far out are actually here already. We're building it into our quantum technology, so we might as well acknowledge that we have quantum consciousness as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing. They're actually using quantum technology in manufacturing, but they don't even know how it works.
Right.
I guess in the computer chip industry, they use quantum technology. Can you put it in layman's terms what quantum physics is?
Yes. Okay. Let's just start with the word quantum, and that comes from, it's a root word quanta, which this is a word that was coined by physicist Max Planck, and he kind of was the father of quantum physics around the year 1900 when he came up with the term. And the idea was, let's look for the fundamental building block of reality, of matter. And so they were looking at things like electrons, that's a quantum particle, or a photon of light is a quantum particle. And so the idea was, let's just see how this all goes together. And they weren't prepared for what happened next, which was, of course, to find some shocking things from experiments that they conducted with, for example, the double slit experiment, where they noticed just firing one photon at a time through a couple of doorways in a little screen, doorways in a sort of a partition before the final screen that the photon would land on. And bizarre things would happen with that experiment that all seemed to be influenced directly by the experimenter's consciousness, by where an observational device was placed, whether or not they were looking. And it would absolutely change what was going on with these little individual photons to such a degree that it looked like the photons were creating a diffraction pattern, interfering with themselves when they're only being fired one at a time. So this is where the mathematics of quantum physics was really elegant. It always works. But when you get to the question of why is it working, and what's our interpretation of this, that's still not agreed upon, even all these years later.
So I heard a theory once where once we have expectations of how reality is going to be, that kind of locks it in place. Does that make sense? In other words, once we all expect, when we drop a ball, it's going to, hit the ground. That locks in that reality. But in quantum physics, apparently the more they're doing those slit experiments, apparently it's changing because we're starting to document it. Does that make sense? They're not getting as much randomness, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It is interesting. And that makes sense to me because you're right. The more you look for, that's how, when I wrote my book, Quantum Jumps, I frequently was looking for research that didn't exist. And I wished it would. And I was frustrated. Like, well, darn it, they should have done this experiment by now. Where is it? And I thought, okay, let's look again. And I'd look again and, okay, there it is. And it was done when? 10 years ago. Perfect. Or, or something ridiculous thing like that. Like, no way. That was not there before, but I'll take it. Now that I've observed it, I'm locking it in. I'm putting it in this book. We're going to grab and hold and run with this. You're right. That's what's really going on with reality. Exactly what you're saying, at a level that most people really can't wrap their minds around. But I believe you're exactly right about that. And I know that's almost an outrageous statement to make. It's because it sounds like, what are you saying? How real is anything? But it really is based on our collective consensus reality and what we're choosing to believe in collectively. And we are locking in realities.
So we dictate reality, is what you're saying, consciously. I mean, as a collective conscience, we're dictating the reality.
Much more than we realize. Absolutely.
And we could change that reality by changing the consciousness.
Yes. I don't know Bigfoot like you guys do. I keep coming back to that, but I suspect that's what Bigfoot's trying to convey. I mean, at the core of it, it's probably like, come on, you guys.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, Bigfoot, I mean, people see it and they experience it and then it's just gone. It just disappears. And there's no explanation how this, some people talk about 9 foot tall hairy monster or hairy thing could just vanish into thin air.
And it's in ancient records too. That's where it's not just something, and it's consistent. I think that's very interesting.
Either he's the greatest hide and seek player ever and he knows how to hide quick, or there's something to that, because I'm open to everything right now, because there's some people watched a Bigfoot, for instance, just disappear into thin air, right, Doug? I mean, I've heard those stories.
Sure, I've heard the stories, and I mean, we just don't know enough yet. We've only taken 8,000 reports, so when we get to 16,000, we might know more. But yeah, there's a percentage of people say that there's no way it could have disappeared. But it's still a very small fraction of the reports. It still could just be a big, creature that just lives in the forest too. We don't know enough. But you had mentioned Uri Geller, how he would bend, and I've seen the spoon bending.
Yes.
Obviously, if I rub a spoon, I'm not going to expect it to bend because I don't know how to do it. So you've obviously witnessed this in person. And your daughter, you said your daughter has done it?
Yes. This is in the late 1990s. Uri Geller came to San Francisco and had an event in the city. So I went to that, and he was sprouting seeds in the palm of his hand and doing telepathy kind of things. And then also just melting cutlery just in his hands, just bending things. And he wasn't, it didn't look like he was a magician pulling any kind of a trick that I could see. And so that's when I thought, let's do are you there?
Yep, we're here.
Okay. Heard a little bloop. I don't know what that was.
Nope. That we are still here.
Cool. So I just decided, let's do a spoon bending party at home. So my daughter joined in, and she was the most successful in a daydream state of mind. She was just looking out the window, kind of like forget this whole thing of the directions, and concentrating really hard. Instead of focusing, she just kind of let it go. And then I could see it. I watched it happen. She continued looking out the window, but her fork just bent, very much like what Uri Geller was doing. And I know she wasn't doing a magic trick. So if some people say, well, Uri Geller might be a magician, and maybe, but then how did this work for my daughter? And I've seen a quarter. I felt a quarter bend in my fingers, and it just melted like putty. It's like it was just warm and just wilted into my. It was the weirdest thing. And that's an American quarter. You guys are from America. You know they're pretty sturdy. That's like our sturdiest coin.
That's a pretty thick piece of steel. You know, pretty thick piece of metal just to bend in your fingers.
And I needed it because I was paying. I had exact change to go in our local subterranean metro. It's called BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, because that day I was going to go to a Institute of Noetic Sciences event, and I just timed everything perfectly to catch the right train. Everything was perfect, except it wasn't now, because that last coin, the quarter, just went, just melted like soft wax. This weirdest feeling. And now I was like, no, I'm trying to flatten it back out, but now it's solidifying into this weird curved shape.
That is odd.
So
I know.
Okay, we gotta back up here, Cynthia.
Right?
Okay, so you didn't want this coin to melt. It just did it on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there was anything subconsciously that you did not want to get on that transit system?
Well, I think I'll tell you more of what happened, and then you'll see. Because this gets into the idea that events like to happen together, and that there is a higher level of consciousness that we're all working with, more than even our intentions that are in our head. There are higher levels even than that. So in my head, I thought, I missed the train, had the exact change. I really messed this up. I had no experience having a coin do this that now will not go into the slot. So I had to go back to my car. I missed the train, obviously. I got extra coins in case this happened again. Like, this is ridiculous. So I come back, put it in. Everything's fine. I go down into the train. When I get to the train, then I realize, because I'm wondering, why did this happen? Now I'm late. Not that late, but slightly late. It's just kind of annoying. And then I see someone reading a book by Edgar Mitchell, the founder of Institute of Noetic Sciences. So I think, well, I wonder if he's going to the event in San Francisco too. It's unlikely because of how big our Bay Area is. He was going to that event. Not only that, but he was the designer of one of the experiments there that he got to tell me about, working with Dean Radin and plant consciousness, looking at the way plants can communicate and can observe what's going on around them and communicate with people and respond to all sorts of things.
Yeah, but
so
you
he
were
was
meant to meet him then. It was only
That's
like fate.
right. Not fate, because of the quarter. See, what I'm pointing out is there's a higher level of who I am and who each of us are that is really coordinating a lot more than we're consciously trying to do. So that's why I don't recommend people practice magic per se, because that's working usually in your own head, and it's much better to ask how good can it get,
All right, Cynthia, we got to back up again. So you're saying we all have our own guardian angel? That's us? That we're our own guardian angel?
That's a great way to put it. We're capable of being, yes. I think everyone's got different levels of facility and different skill sets. So some people might feel like, mine's not so good, or I need help. That's okay. You can get other help. So maybe
But why did the quarter melt?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cool. And then I gave it away. In retrospect, I wish I hadn't. I gave it to the first beggar I saw. I was still kind of upset with it because, I'm human. So it's like, that was so annoying. I don't want this thing. It's in retrospect, even like the next day, I wished, man, should have kept that. That was the coolest thing ever.
But why did it melt? So what's the definitive conclusion on why you think it melted?
Just to get me to take the next train. Exactly, the next train.
Okay,
it's like kind of like, you don't want this train. Like, yes, I do. No, you don't. And melt. Like, whoa.
If you could figure out how to do that on a regular basis, you'd be a millionaire. You wouldn't have to write these books or nothing. You could just melt quarters for a stage show. I mean, that's amazing. that would happen at that moment. I've never heard of anyone ever melting a quarter in my life.
Okay. All right. So is it the same thing? Okay. My nephew told me a story the other day where he was downtown Minneapolis, going to cross the street. He was about to take a step out and got yanked back. He literally got yanked by his shirt. And then a bus went.
Yeah.
Was that him doing that? Or was that another entity that grabbed him? He said there was nobody there.
It could have been another entity. I've had dreams, lucid dreams, where I just go through the same scenario over and over and over with some sweet woman who keeps going down into a parking garage. And I keep telling her, no, look where you're going. Like, don't go down there. Maybe don't go right now. Or like, oh, here we go again. And so, mugging occurs. And like, okay, let's do this again. I feel like I was that guardian. I feel like that's real. Like, we went through so many realities until we finally got it. It's like, here's the good one. Thank you for listening. Some people just have a hard time hearing, but I think we do help each other at that higher level of conscious awareness than we usually even know that we have. As far as being grabbed and pulled back, yes, I think we can do that for each other, and at that higher level again.
Right.
So, and I think that's what we're stepping into. We're becoming much more capable than we ever have. And Joel, when you said that's amazing with me in the corner, well, look at Doug. He was just looking at that huge, heavy, high tolerance metal that just like all those holes moved. That's the same. That's equally magnificent in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think I would lose it. I still think I would lose it even more if a quarter melted in my hand.
It was pretty upsetting. I was like, ah.
What, did you feel heat? Was there heat associated with the quarter? I mean, did it feel like a molten metal?
Just gentle, almost like warm candle wax. It wasn't burning my hand at all. It's just like when you feel like, have you ever played with warm candle wax?
Sure.
Yeah.
Rolled it into a little ball. It felt like that. About the same level of heat. Not too bad.
That's nuts. That's cool. It's nutty in a cool way, is what that is. And yeah, I guess there's your sign that you don't want to take that train, like you'd said, because no quarter.
Right. It's like that movie with Steve Martin where he said, just give me a sign, any kind of sign. I think it was The Man with Two Brains or something. And the whole house is shaking. No. And he's like, any kind of sign. So some of us need a epic sign so that we can really get a clue.
Yeah, that's interesting. But the thing that's still fascinating is, why does it happen so randomly or appear to be so random?
That's for us to step back and see what's really going on, get a bigger picture view. Like, what is happening? What is the value of that experience for you?
Right.
And you could look at the ones that happened to you. For me, it was very clear to meet that individual, the experiment designer, as he was working out his experimental prototype. And that was phenomenal to get that. That was almost better than the talk that I was going to see, just to have that conversation. So sometimes when you look back at it, get a bigger view, like what really happened here. And sometimes we have no clue. It's like, I don't know. Other times it's like you get grabbed by the shirt and yanked back. Well, someone just saved your life, obviously.
So you had mentioned Edgar Mitchell. A friend of mine, Steve Kreschel, has come out with a documentary on grounding. Have you ever heard of this? You were talking about grounding. Well, he goes barefoot. Everywhere he goes, he's barefoot. So he can be grounded with the earth.
Even during the wintertime. There he is, walking through the snow.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if he's going to be gone a long time, he better wear shoes. But I mean, he's got his beds grounded. The whole town was having health problems. And he got the whole town in order and apparently made a big difference. He did a documentary, but Edgar Mitchell came up to see him up in Alaska. Have you seen this before, Cynthia?
I have not seen it.
Okay, well, I think it's called Grounded. It's a doc. I don't know, I think it's probably on Amazon.
Cool.
But it's kind of interesting. But I always wonder about that. What is really happening? Because everybody's trying to come up with all these reasons as to why the vase of flowers will live for months when you put a ground wire on it. These cut flowers. I mean, they've done a lot of experiments, and they have provided some proof. And I always wonder, though, what proof is there of the Mandela effect? Or what proof do I have? I have none for my stories. I don't have any. You didn't keep your quarter.
No, I gave that away.
Imagine what we could do with that quarter if you would have kept it.
Well, I think it has limited value. But when you bring up grounding, it reminds me of your memory of your father with his yoga practice and the laughter and these plants that you put a grounding wire to the earth. The earth is, if you think of that as a sentient being with a huge energy field, and really Mother Earth for sure, and you stay really connected there, then of course it makes sense that you'd get the benefit of vibrant health and well-being and that energy flow that we tend to get disconnected from. So for those who say that all disease comes from just not feeling loved, not feeling connected, well, those are the ways to remedy that situation, is get grounded and choose love.
Yeah, he's a real interesting guy. Steve used to be my camera guy. And he always marched to his own beat, And he claims that this grounding has just solved all of his health problems and many other people's health problems. It's interesting.
I guess going to the convenience store is out for him, though. That's that.
Yeah.
That'd make me upset.
Yeah, he lives pretty far from town.
No shirt, no shoes, no service.
Just imagine a guy eats a lot of carrots and wears no shoes.
Yeah.
That's
different lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'll get him on.
Well, it's grounding. That's interesting that would change his life so dramatically.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, though. I mean, grounding, even metaphysically, people talk about, I need to get grounded.
Right.
Or get emotionally grounded, get spiritually grounded. So grounding is a very, very important part of who we are mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone that isn't grounded, they seem to be very scattered. They seem to be very without focus.
And it's like between worlds. When you looked at those possible realities, it's kind of like being jerked around and not really selecting any one, but kind of like bumper car around.
Do we have any proof that the Mandela effect is real, Cynthia?
Individually, each of us has the ability to recognize for ourselves that we can see something that proves it to us. But as far as will we see anything that can convince others who are enmeshed in this material realistic paradigm, no. I don't know of anything that can convince a material realist who's got a closed mind. They're not going to be able to see it. So there won't be.
Almost all it's anecdotal.
So I know, but you wonder if there's two photos of the Berenstain Bears and the Bernstein Bears or whatever, from way back that somebody took a Polaroid photo. But what apparently they're saying is everything changes.
What we're more likely to see, yes, is things like maybe multiple Big Bangs. That's what Stephen Hawking was looking for with Thomas Hertog. And Thomas Hertog, another physicist, said that quantum physics forbids a single history. And those are fighting words. I mean, that's a real battle cry right there. There's some other great statements like no return to classical reality. I love some of these physicists with a real warrior spirit, like we are quantum. Love it. But that was a co-author with a paper with Stephen Hawking. And so when you look at that and look at the fact that if you can go back to the time of the Big Bang and see multiple Big Bangs, that is what they were looking for. That they said that will be our evidence for this top-down kind of a cosmology, taking a quantum approach. So it was a very radical paper that they wrote before Stephen Hawking passed away. So now it's been a number of years. And I think that kind of thing is quite earth-shaking, really. But even to the skeptics, I don't think a lot of them would take that as proof. I don't know what it would take to convince them.
Well, is the multiple Big Bang theory, is that where we get the multiple dimensions or the multiverse?
That's one. There are many different takes on this, as this is the trouble with physics. There's so many different views of it, because there are some physicists that would say, yes, there can be different, maybe a couple of different universes. What I've personally witnessed are so many universes that it's way more than just one or two. And and sometimes it looks like we're going back and forth between a couple, but then you'll see a third. And so there's definitely a lot more going on.
Okay, now if there's multiple dimensions or multiple universes or what have you, when we die in one, do we die in all? Or does our consciousness just shift to the next plane, the next dimension?
Yeah, I think it's possible for it to shift. I think we can choose to some degree how we prune our tree of possible lifetimes through choosing a spiritual path. We can say, I'm going to choose the branches that are positive, and you can actually feel like you've just lost a whole bunch of lifetimes where you might have died an early death from a drug overdose or a bad lifestyle. Some people feel that. I personally went through this Mandela effect. I was on the inside of the Alive Again, because about 2016 or so, I got a really bad case of pneumonia, and I felt like I was about to die. I only told my parents, my daughters, my husband. I didn't tell anybody else. I thought, this is pretty bad. But somebody wrote to me after the fact and said, wow, you're alive again? I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad you're here. He was a UFO experiencer, Steve Boucher. He was like one of the rock and rollers in Canada, and the whole group got airlifted onto a UFO or something. But he wrote to me, he said, you don't know me, and what I'm about to say is going to sound really weird, but to me it didn't sound that weird. I just asked him a lot of questions. When was the time frame? What was the cause of death? How did I announce it? Everything matched with what would have happened if I had died of pneumonia. It would have been, the official report was on social media. After a long illness, Cynthia has passed away. This is her husband. I'm just letting people know. Sorry about that, And that's pretty much what would have happened, but it didn't happen. And then I put the question out to my viewers. One person had seen a tribute on YouTube by Moneybags, because we'd been on he's a YouTuber, Moneybags 73. So they remembered that, which he doesn't remember having done, but he might have done something like that. And so there were just like 6 or 7, a smattering of maybe a dozen reports altogether. So
yeah, but that's your own personal Mandela effect, where you were the star because you were dead,
right?
And people were giving you tributes. Wow.
And it felt like I did die, but I didn't. It's kind of like And for me, it's like I got to that point where you're about to go through another truck, and I thought, no, I need to live. And so pneumonia is not going to kill me.
I often wonder when people are experiencing ghosts, for instance, people who see a ghost, if they're not seeing just a person living in another dimension, like just that split moment of time, that bleed through of dimensions. Now, I've often wondered if to them we're the ghosts, because now they're seeing our dimension as well. Because I've had people that are paranormal investigators say, well, the ghost reacted like I was the ghost for a split second.
Yeah.
And so it made me wonder if it wasn't not necessarily ghosts, but just a bleed over or bleed through of dimensions.
That could be. I actually do see ghosts sometimes, and sometimes I'll see them. Apparently they're traffic deaths or something, and I've seen weird stuff. Like in Berkeley, I've seen this really old-time bicycle. Like nobody rides those. Like the kind of thing, the giant wheel.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just got a glimpse of a ghost, like at twilight. Like what? And then they looked at me like, what? So totally, I know what you're saying. But then other times I can communicate with or converse with dead people. If I like genealogy, sometimes they'll contact me and give me tips and pointers. Like you can find where my pictures are, and here, check this out. And one of them was super insistent, really pushy, and on a day when I was very busy, but I thought, well, this one seems very urgent. Okay, I'll follow these clues up. I'll get everything. So I did that. It was for my best friend's grandmother, who she doesn't know much about, and I gave her the information. And that day, it was hard to reach her because she was on the phone with a family crisis. And so it's like her grandmother knew, like, I'm here for all of you guys. Even though there's a crisis, I love you guys. That's what it felt like. So some ghosts are a little bit more than your average ghost.
That would be interesting.
And then some are just your average, where it's like, what are you doing here? Because they're in that loop. It's like they keep dying again and again or something. Like they don't know they're dead.
Jeez, isn't that hell though? Repetitive.
Well, people can. If I wasn't driving a car, I could probably help to clear it. And I think a lot of people do clear those. They help. Yeah, because that's not a pleasant experience, right?
No, I would imagine not.
What is one of the weirdest stories that you've heard? Because I would imagine a lot of people contact you. And do you have an example of a very scary, unsettling, glitch story, or one that really haunts you, Cynthia?
Scary? Well, I think not really. Trying to think. I've heard some scary ones, but they've, in two cases, they've been very clear, do not share those. So it's like, okay. And I think the reason is they don't want to panic everybody else and call that reality into being, which is a fair point. So I'll keep my promise. But then the ones who I haven't promised that to, let's see, scary. I'm trying to think. I think it depends on what scares you personally. Everybody's.
To me, the worst fear is, in something like that is just something that unsettles you, takes away your reality. Have you something that really strange happened to, somebody that you want to relay?
Well, okay. So one person saw like seeing streets and houses change, completely different than what she knew they were. And this also is a very common one. Amazingly, you might think like, how could that happen? How could a whole street look different? It happens a lot. And these are not people who are drunk and confused. These are very rational people. In that realm, there's someone that worked, I think one of the trippiest ones was right there in the Pentagon. One of the generals there, I guess I can say this on the show. I didn't announce it that way when I reported it in the Reality Shifters. I just said it was a large building. It was the Pentagon. He was basically, that building is huge. So the inner courtyard, I forget, it's like the size of a couple of football fields. And when you walk up here, I haven't been in it, but it's ginormous. So he was just walking along, minding his business, and then somebody was approaching him that he didn't want to talk to. This could happen to anyone. You see someone like, oh no, I just don't feel like talking right now. So he ducked into a stairwell, and I think he went downstairs to the next level. That's where he left all of reality as he knew it behind, because he ended up one floor down. He should have been at the same section of the building. You'd expect if you're on the It's kind of like a big donut, There's an outside and an inside. So he went from being, he went down the stairs and ended up like he'd traveled instantly all the way across the entire building. And it looked completely different. All the walls were different. There was nobody there. It was like abandoned or something. It really freaked him out. He decided like, okay, it's better to even talk to that person I don't want to talk to than be down here. So goes back up and everything's normal, and it didn't do that again. But it really changed the way he viewed reality.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would imagine you've heard, like we all have, of people who are traveling. They'll stay at a motel. They'll come back through, days later to stay at the motel, and it's an empty lot.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And they'll talk to people, and they'll go, I was here, but it's been gone for 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes entire streets can change that way. Yeah. Houses, people, cars, everything can change. And some people go back trying to figure out, how could I have ever had a meal in this restaurant that never existed? These things are happening all over the place, and they're incredibly common. So that's like seeing a bleed through of other worlds where we're just, if you look at all the clues and all these reports, then
that
it's
would
a
be
lot.
like a time glitch. Wouldn't that be a time thing, just a time slip?
Not necessarily, because it could be an alternate reality where in one reality that business kept going, and in the other it's been gone for 30 years.
Gotcha.
What happened to me was I was traveling in the southern United States. I went to this little gas station. I was, on a road trip. And do you guys remember the old gas pumps? They're glass on top, and you could watch the gas fill first, and it comes down, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world because I've never seen one of those before in my life.
Way before your time, Joel.
Yeah, and that's what was cool is because I saw this, right? I remember because I was in Virginia by Roanoke Island. It wasn't too far from Roanoke, Virginia. And I stopped at this gas station purposely because I needed gas anyway. But I looked, well, isn't that the coolest little looking joint? And the guy comes out and we're talking. He checks my oil. And we talk really. And I remember the only reason this is so vivid to me because I remember that gas pump I had mentioned. That is the coolest old time gas pump. And he looked at me so bewildered, like, what do you mean old time? It's our gas pump. You know, it ain't no big deal. Like, to anyone else, this would be a big deal. Like, look at this antique. It's working. So I made it a point to stop back there my way home. I thought, you know, because it was just cool. I actually wanted to go in because I didn't get a chance to really go in. I was in a hurry, so I paid my cash, and he gave me change. And I thought, I'm going to go into this gas station the next time I'm through because I knew I'd be going that way. I'm telling you guys, I stopped there, and it was a marathon station. Because I remember I took my GPS on my phone and I marked it as a point of interest for myself. And I stopped. It's a modern marathon station. And so I stopped and I told the guy wow, I thought this was something else. And the guy said, well, this was a gas station before this marathon, and it was old. And I'm telling you, I witnessed that old time gas station, got gas there, and the whole thing. I show up, it's a marathon station, a modern truck stop type marathon station instead of a mom and pop gas station.
Have you heard firsthand stories like this before from other people, Cynthia?
Yes. Yeah, I have. I've heard some where they've actually gone back in time as well, where people are dressed differently and, and things are going on, like a public hanging was happening. Then for sure this is not like some alternate reality. We're back in time, because of the way people are dressed. And it was kind of like there's a different color to everything. And only the dogs could see them. The dogs were looking, this young lady was there. It was Halloween Eve, and it was like around midnight. And as they walked past this Indian mound in Moundsville, suddenly they're like back in time, obviously, because why would everyone be going to a hanging? Nobody does that anymore, hopefully. So, and it was daytime. It's like it went from midnight to the middle of the day. It was dusty and hot, and just everything changed, but with a weird kind of an orangey color to everything, sepia color. And only the dogs could see them, and were kind of barking at them, like
yeah. Interesting. Yeah, mine the guy, him and I conversed, and he didn't think anything of his old time gas pump, and it was totally normal.
Joel. Okay, yeah. So was gas 5 cents a gallon then?
No, I don't. No, I don't believe it was 5 cents a
gallon.
What
did you have to pay him? I mean, if it was
like $20 or whatever it was to fill it, 15.
Well, how can that be?
Well,
I don't know. That's why I'm so bewildered, because you would have thought it would have been 5 cents, but it was not. No savings, Doug, was to be had, even the alternate universe.
Okay.
Well, I know some people do keep those because they're so cool. And like I have a cousin who's a farmer. He had one at the farm, because.
But I stopped back, though. I stopped back the same location.
I believe you. Well, that's a classic reality shift or a glitch kind of an experience. Classic, where you go there and it's one way, you come back and it's completely different. I write about this in reality shifts where I've seen entire restaurants different, and everything can completely change. A sundial sculpture that had never been at the Berkeley Marina is suddenly there, as if it's always been there, and the harbor master swears it's always been there, but it wasn't, because we'd walk right through there. That stuff happens all the time. Much more than people realize. Yes.
But why, I wonder?
I think it's for people to wake up. I think the key to the whole thing is recognize that we're basically living inside of a dream. When you're in a dream and you can start waking up inside your dreams, and then you can experience a lucid dream, or you can ask questions, get answers. We can ask questions and get answers in daily life too. And we can connect with a higher level of consciousness than we've been historically doing. And we have access to like this realm of know-when, where time can kind of stop, and you can choose all these possible realities, including time travel. You can talk with past version of yourself or a future version of yourself. And that's literally happened to me too. And it's a common experience in some cultures, like Vardieger experience in the Scandinavian cultures. That's a common word for what happens when people arrive before they get there, which means like, oh, you know, it's that thing where they're all stamping their boots on the porch and to get the snow off, and you can hear them all laughing and talking out there. But if you open the door, there's nobody there. That's happened to me, where I could hear my daughter and her friends at our front door, and they were talking, and I was in the kitchen with something in the oven. I said, I'll be right there. And then I go, and there's nobody there for another 15 minutes, and then they all show up.
Wow.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I've got to bring this up because a listener just wrote in and said, the proof is in when you put 2 socks in the dryer and only one comes out. That's the proof everybody's experienced. For
that is so true. That is so
you
so
never
true.
find them again. You never find the other sock.
Yeah, we
They're
just had
lost in the cosmos.
We just had National Missing Sock Day. I think it was Sunday, Mother's Day this year. And I posted a link to a song that someone wrote for the Reality Shifters website. Laszlo wrote it. Lost Socks and Missing Keys. Because that is like the gateway to the... you're right. It's the gateway to the experience.
Gateway. Yeah.
The dryer is the mythical gateway
the portal
to the universe.
And it spins. Oh my God. There could be something to the spinning though.
Yeah, it could be.
There was a really, I hate to kind of bogart this, but there was a real interesting experiment that I think Brian De Palma's brother did, where he took grass, planted it, put a box over it, or put a box over the grass, and then put a turntable under the box, and then would spin the turntable, but the grass would grow in a spin, even though the spinning had no effect on the grass. But the grass sensed the spinning underneath it. So spinning could be a portal.
It could be our own personal collider.
Yeah.
That's spinning fast enough to change reality and suck in our clothing, never to be found again.
Oh, I've had some cool reality shifts, like in the last year or so, where my laundry was done when I was on a podcast. I stopped all the laundry. I had stuff in the wash, and I had some whites and some color, whatever. So it was 2 loads, but the second load was still wet. I just left it. I'll deal with it later. I do the podcast, and then I hear right at the end, like right about at this point in the conversation, right when it was just about over, I heard a machine running. Like, wait a minute, let me go check that. So I checked it, and it was the dryer. Everything from the wash had been moved into the dryer, and I opened the dryer, and it was done. It was all done. Like the whole thing was
helpful right there. I mean, if that could keep happening, you'd be okay with that.
And my kitchen floor was cleaned the other day. I just noticed this thing is really dirty. I need to clean it. And then my husband thanked me. Thanks for cleaning the floor. I said, I didn't do it, but I love it clean too. So.
You could get used to those kind of shifts.
That's called quantum cleaning.
Yes, quantum cleaning. So you don't need something going in a spin is what I'm saying.
I have the other thing happen. I have quantum dirtiness. Because I mopped the floor the other day, and I looked today, and there's grass and some junk. I'm like, what the heck? So anyhow,
yeah.
Well, that's more normal experience.
Quantum cleaning. Yep, that's. But it is. You know, this is something that so many people do experience, but they don't say anything.
And I love that you're doing this show because you're opening it up so people can recognize. I would recommend. Put in my favorite spice into this quantum soup, which is that question, how good can it get? Because then you're inviting all levels of yourself to experience how good, what you consider good, this experience of life can be. And
okay. So what you're saying, I got to back up. So what you're saying, Cynthia, is that if you're open to this, you can have more missing wrenches.
You can have stuff. You can have money show up in your bank account that wasn't there before. You can have your kitchen. That's happened to me. Kitchen floor cleaned when you needed it cleaned.
And
laundry done by itself.
You're absolutely right about the money thing.
Yeah.
Because have you ever done something where you're just like you keep giving away money? It's like 5 people you know it's their birthday. So you give them all $100, and then it's your best friend's anniversary, and you buy them something really nice. But then somehow a check comes in the mail for some weird insurance refund for the exact amount that you just gave away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But in my case, because I'm so no questions asked, and I used to work in banking. I've done forensic accounting, but anyway, this money just shows up like it's always been there. And then I'm thinking, no, I used to go check it. Like, has it really always been there? Like, cause that's impossible. It's exactly the amount I need. And it's suddenly always been there, but I know it wasn't.
What you're saying is don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
That's right. It's
called quantum interest.
Yeah, because there is a quantum Zeno effect where if you can lock a quantum system in place by checking it so frequently that it can't move. You can just stare at it, and so you don't want to stare at things when they're not like the way you want them.
The watched pot never boils.
That's right.
That old saying.
My father said something really wise to me. He said, if you want things to happen, you got to not want them to happen. You just can't. In other words, you can't wish for money to show up in your wallet, correct, Cynthia?
Yeah, because it's a full body process. You got to need it, love it, imagine it.
Right.
And your high self has to be on board too. It's like got to be in your best interest. And then you got it.
Yeah, but greed is going to deflect.
That's going to go south. That's going to. It's like putting something bad in the soup. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Cynthia, we're at the end of the show, and can you tell people how they can get a hold of you, your websites, where they get your books, all that stuff? Okay, so my books are on Amazon.com is the best place, probably. If you don't like that, you can order them through my website, which is realityshifters.com, because we're all reality shifters. Some of us are just finding out. I've got a YouTube channel. I also am president of the International Mandela Effect Conference. That website is imec.world, and we're doing monthly open tables. We'll be talking about the Mandela effects of Brazil on May 26th, and that starts at 4 o'clock Eastern time. But again, that's cool. realityshifters.com is the place to go. So that you can sign up for my newsletter and get all the news. Hey.
Well, we had a reality shift here. We had a time slip because that seemed like 20 minutes.
It seemed like it was no time at all. It always goes so quick. Yeah. But this is Doug and Joel here. We're signing off. Take care of each other, love each other. And remember, if you don't wish for the money, you just might get it. That's the lesson I learned ultimately. Is if you act like you don't want it, you might get it. Till next time, guys.